vulnerabilities means, right? Like, what does it mean to disclose a vulnerability in a responsible manner? If I'm a security researcher and I find something, 15 years ago, I could probably just post an email message, that's what they call them, to some list somewhere, and be like, oh, I found this vulnerability. And everyone would go, oh, neat. And only like 8 people read the info because nobody cared about security, and maybe the vendor got informed, and maybe they fixed it, and there was no bad worms or anything that came out of it. But over time, security became more and more critical. Internet came along, the first .com came on the internet, people started selling stuff, everybody started to care about security a lot more. And then maybe disclosing that vulnerability information just right there out in the open wasn't the best idea. So, hey, I'll work with a vendor. 1997, a lot of vendors just didn't care about security, right? Wasn't a discriminator from a product perspective. They weren't getting burned from a compliance perspective. Hey, thanks, you little black t-shirt wearing security researcher. I'm going to sue your ass for telling me this. Oh, hey, guy. We're all friends here. There's no need to fight. Eventually, the vendors started to participate more. There was this thing called the RF policy, Rainforest Puppy Releases Policy on Responsible Disclosure. It's like 2 pages long. Basically, it says use your frickin' brain, right? If it's a big frickin' problem and it's going to cause chaos, try to work with the vendor. If the vendor's not responsive, kick him in the butt. And if they're not responsive, release the information to the public. I've summarized the RF policy in 2 sentences. Okay? Microsoft and AtStake and a bunch of other people got together a few years later because Microsoft wanted to push the responsibility disclosure discussion a notch. And they came up with the Organization for Internet Safety, which released a 70-page guideline on vulnerability disclosure, which had things like party of the third in it. Okay? So this hacker's reading this thing, says party of the first will notify party of the third within a timely manner according to party of the second. All right, I'm just going to announce it. And ooh, there you go. So we got in this huge discussion of responsible disclosure. Magical things happened, okay? People started paying a lot of money for information about these vulnerabilities, right? EI, Tipping Point, that's the other one. Other people started having these vulnerability disclosure programs where you could tell them information about vulnerabilities and they would pay you for it. Completely open market. Neat. And we're not saying paying like $50, $5,000, $10,000. Hey, and if you keep telling us about them, we'll give you more money every time. We'll give you bonus points. We'll give you varsity jackets. We'll give you trips to Black Hat. Not making it up. They have frequent vulnerability disclosure programs. Literally one of them, you can get a varsity jacket. I'm Leet or something on the back, so all your friends can mock you while you're walking away. But this scares the bejesus out of me, right? Who knows what these people are doing to these vulnerabilities? Tipping Point, everybody, like I've talked to the guys, and they're like, oh, we're being totally responsible. You can trust us. I'm like, you know what? It's great that I can trust you, okay? What about the 20 other competitors you have in this space? Further, why should I trust you? You're taking that vulnerability information and you're using it as a discriminator for your product. And you know what the best discriminator for your product is? I know about more O-Day than the other guy. And once you tell the vendor and you get it patched, that's an O-Day you don't know about anymore because everyone else knows about it and it's not an O-Day, okay? So why would I trust you, okay? There's a business problem here. So what's interesting is the security community is now an industry. Like I always refer to it as a community, which is kind of interesting. And I think it was Al last night that actually mumbled this, so something good did come out of Al's mouth last night. I'll let that kind of settle in for a second. So it's an industry, right? I mean, honest to God, there's billions of dollars in play. Billions and billions. Altruism doesn't pay bills. Like, I consider myself to be pretty damn altruistic, you know, probably to a fault. But there are a lot of kids who are growing up and getting into the security community right now, and they're looking at this kind of tier of people that they look up to and respect, and what are they doing? They're making money by selling their vulnerabilities. They're making bank by perpetuating layered defense and all this other stuff, because it's actually not that difficult, because honestly, like I had in the earlier slide and didn't address, InfoSec, not a science, okay? It's an art at best. And so people are growing up and going, well, my idol is off making a lot of money and he's doing all this stuff. I'm going to do what he's going to do and then I'm going to push the bar farther, right? I'm going to push the bar even farther. That's hard. That's not good for us. So how many people have degrees in information assurance or information security? Anyone? Check, right? How many people have degrees in engineering or computer science? Right, okay, there's a few of us that have that. Bit more of a science, right? Electrical engineering, there's been some changes in the last 30 or 40 years, not a lot. Computer security, there's been a few, right? There's been some subtle changes in the last 30 years. We don't have really realistic models. There's not like a statics and dynamics class that you can take that talks about networking that you can then apply 40 years down the road. Turns out gravity, basically the same thing for our lifetime. Just in case some of us, it feels a little different, but it's the same. No one cares about security like we care about security. We care about security enough that it's 6 o'clock on a Saturday in Cleveland, and we're in a Holiday Inn Select, packed into a room, talking about security. That, by definition, is caring, okay? Like, there's a special place in my heart for everyone in this room. For everyone else, they don't care about security. They care about things like compliance. There's a regulation. There's FISMA. There's Sarbanes-Oxley. There's all this other shit. I care about that. I care about not going to jail. I care about making more money for my shareholders. You know what? That's fantastic. That's what free market economy is all about. And we can debate about libertarians and anarchists and whatever else, but fact of the matter, that's the way the world spins right now. So we got to get over it, okay? No one else is going to make the world more secure, right? There's people who are going to make money off it. There's people that are going to pay money for stuff. And then there's a group of people, sometimes a subset of those, but a lot of other people, who are actually going to try to make the world a more secure place. Okay? That's what you need to think about. When you're out there and you're doing these security things and you're learning and figuring out all these things and working at your job, every once in a while ask yourself the question, am I caring about security? Okay? I'm not saying you got to do it all the time. Because God knows the businesses that exist today don't exist just to pay your frickin' bills when you're a security, staff or consultant or whatever. When I was working at this one big shop one time, we had hundreds of servers and all these data centers and stuff. And our security guys were just zealots. They were like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's insecure. Like, we're going to do that because the business needs it to survive, If the shareholders have the thing of, oh, well, we're going to shut down the business because it's insecure, or we're going to stay alive and be insecure, they're going to pick the one that makes money, I assure you. So we need to understand that, but every once in a while you need to ask yourself the question, hey, am I doing the right thing? I got to keep trucking because I'm already running along in the tooth. Wow, I found like 4 soapboxes already. Secret number 2, you can't train everyone. Period. Full stop. Okay? No offense to the software developers in the room, but you are as smart as you're ever going to be the day you graduated from college. Okay? Data structures and algorithms, that hurt your brain like nothing else. Okay? And I assure you, everything else you need to do in the world, except for a few people, it's going to be basically any adaptation of all that stuff you learned. Learning new languages, it's just new syntax, right? It's really not that much more complicated. So the people here, we care about security. You might actually learn how to write secure code, how to analyze code, things of that nature. The vast majority of the developer population doesn't care. Okay? If I get it done on time and it makes it through QA, I'm going home and having a beer. That's all I care about, right? And QA doesn't involve security. 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 times out of 100. QA doesn't involve security. So I'll pass QA, and it'll be full of BOs, and I don't care. Security is everyone's problem, right? I mean, that's the mantra. Like, everyone has to care about security because you should all worry about identity theft and the corporation and all this other nonsense. No. So there was a study, I think GAO released it, Government and Accounting Office or somebody. It was, I think, for the IRS. And it was a release of the information of how well the IRS did when people tried to get social engineered over the phone. And they said, this year, when we had people come in and try to get passwords from our users, only 45% of the users gave out their passwords. Thinking, that is a massive improvement from the 75% from the year before. Obviously, our user education system is working. Holy crap. So, obviously, it only takes one break a lot of times to really compromise the system, right? You get one user to give you the password, I can log in remotely, now I have access. And then I can just go start robbing and pillaging and causing problems for small animals. But, at the end of the day, you're not going to educate everyone, right? You're never going to get that down to 0. Even if everyone understands and gets it, guess what? They're still going to make mistakes. right? People still make mistakes. In big enterprises, people make a lot of damn mistakes. You can't train them. So what do? We need to arm users with tools that don't require any education whatsoever to use securely, right? And users here are Joe User sending his email and the developer, okay? Our developers need to be armed with languages, compilers, other tools that prevent them from cocking both hammers and aligning their big toe underneath both barrels and pulling the trigger, right? And then breaking their chin in the process, okay? There's a visual for you. We don't have any of that today, right? There's research going on into that. There's a sub-secret here, the super secret ninja secret, okay? We don't learn from the past. Like any other industry on the planet, we don't learn from the past, okay? You go look at all the really interesting .com security things that popped up in the 98, 99, 2000 time. Only a few of them were actually revolutionary. There are a lot of people sinking a lot of money into ideas that had a lot of research done into them already. And we still see that today. And even the ones that were revolutionary with, there was no market for, okay? Zero-knowledge systems, anyone actually buy privacy services from zero-knowledge systems when they were around? Zero-knowledge systems sold access to like a proxy and anonymizing network and a bunch of other services. You load a little client in, and it wiped everything so people couldn't track you on the internet and a bunch of crap. It's like $50 a year. It's a pretty good deal for privacy, right? No one cared enough to pay for it. Or there was an expectation that it should be something that's there already, right? Deer in the headlights, all users are, okay? There was no money in it. So anyway, that was way far afield of the initial ninja secret. The ninja secret is we don't learn from the past, and we need to work on that very, very strongly, okay? There's a lot of academic research that's gone on. I'm going to reference some papers later. Please go read what's happened, okay? Again, gravity hasn't changed. Computer security has, but that doesn't mean it's changed so substantially we can't learn from the 40 or 50 years that's been done before. Secret number 3. So I was sitting around with this guy. His name is Simple Nomad. Simple's a fun guy in the like fungus kind of word. Simple has more pictures of my crotch than any other person on the face of the earth. Simple, he's a graybeard. And I mean that literally. He's got a big gray beard, looks a bit like Gandalf. And we were sitting around at ShmooCon, and we were chatting away. And I said, you know what? If we had thrown ShmooCon in 1998, we would have been flamed off the face of the earth for being a bunch of white hat prick elitists, and our web server would have been owned the moment we opened the con. Period. There would no confusion. That's the way the industry used to work, right? There was a bunch of chaos, anarchy, and libertarianism, which according to Al are on two opposite sides of the spectrum. I contend it's a big circle and they're at the bottom, but whatever. We can discuss the models of politics later.
We're all just crazy down there.
Exactly. We're all down here in the bottom where all the crud collects. Man, that's a great analogy. But that used to be the whole thing of it, man. Like, you went to DEF CON back in the day, and like people were like making nuclear weapons, and I mean, there's obviously some lore involved. There wasn't that much plutonium, but there was still a lot of crazy stuff that was going on, and people were attacking each other's systems, and this was all like above board. Okay, the computer security industry now has a bit of a feeling like the British versus the French in the early 1700s, where we all politely line up on opposite sides of the field and aim at each other, pull the trigger, and see what happens. Okay, you lost 10, we lost. Okay, we did better on that round. Okay, reload. Okay, fire again. A very polite way of waging war. That's not the way it works, right? We are in an industry where there's a lot of chaos. Some of it's under the surface now. It's not so much on public mailing lists like it used to be, although full disclosure still, you do see little tidbits of this. Someone gets a good treatment from Bandtown and has all kinds of pretty pictures of them posted and their social security number and everything else. Neat, right? Poking a bunch of people in the eye. A whole bunch of security professionals who think it's a kinder, gentler world, and it's not, okay? That's still the way it is. The attackers, the real attackers, organized crime, nation states, you name it, these people don't play nice. When the mafia wants to make money, there's a reason The Sopranos is around. They just dream up like this kind of environment where people kill each other for money. It really happens. And people really hack into computers for money, and they build botnets, and they own your mom's computer and have her credit card number, okay? That's not nice. Shocker, okay? We can't defend it like they are going to play nice. We can't ask them, oh, please stop. And we can't shut down DNS so their bots don't work, right? Like, because my mom's not going to remember the IP address for CNN, I assure you.